This is a review of the Ubiquity role-playing system, and this was a request by Dave Aldridge from D Percentile. So hey Dave, this is my review of the Ubiquity system. There is no core generic set of rules for the Ubiquity system. There's a number of games with settings in. Ubiquity was designed by XL Game Studios, who seem to be on a hiatus at the moment as their website's been down for several weeks, but you can still find their products on DriveThruRPG. So for Ubiquity, you have the Hollow Earth Expedition, which is a pulp setting. Think of 1930s with dinosaurs beneath the earth and Nazis. And there's several other books, supplements that add on to this. There's All for One Regime Diabolique by Triple Ace Games, which is the Three Musketeers. There's Desolation, a sci-fi setting. Space 1889, Victorian space sci-fi. And Leagues of Adventure, think of the Leagues of Extraordinary Gentlemen. If I was to say another system it was similar to, it's probably Savage Worlds, in that you have attributes, skills and equipment. So core to Ubiquity is its dice system. It's a 50-50 dice system, meaning that you roll any even number-sided dice. You count odds as failures and even as successes. So for each dice you roll, there's a 50-50 chance of you getting a success. You collect a number of dice from your dice for a dice pool, and these come from your attributes, your skills, your weapons, and any modifiers that the GM may give you. And you roll your dice looking for a target number, or you're rolling your dice pool again against an opponent's dice pool, and you're looking for successes. So your dice pools can get large. They have a couple of rules for this to reduce the number of dice you roll. One of them is that if your dice pool is greater than 10, then you just take the number of dice that is greater than 10 and add 5 to it. The other cool little system they've got in there is if it's a non-combat situation or a non-threatening skill challenge you're doing, you can simply take the average, count your dice pool and halve it. So if it's not critical and you're trying to do a task, the GM will set the difficulty, and if your dice pool is double the difficulty, then you just take the average and you've done it. So it does simplify gameplay up considerably. Character creation. First of all, you pick an archetype. It has no mechanical benefit whatsoever, but it gives you a nice inspiration for designing your character, which is a point-based system. Secondly, you pick a motivation for your character, and this is a way to earn style points. Style points are similar to bennies in Savage Worlds. You can spend style points to add more dice to your rolls and reduce wounds to yourself. Then we have primary attributes. The primary attributes are body, dexterity, strength, charisma, intelligence and willpower. And you have 15 points to put into those attributes on a one-for-one basis. And the maximum you can have in any one attribute is 5 points. You have secondary attributes, which are size, move, perception, initiative, defense, stun and health. These secondary attributes are based upon your core attributes. So for example, your perception is your intelligence and willpower added together. Your defense is your body and dexterity added together, subtracted by your size. The last part of character creation is skills. There are 30 odd skills in the book, and you've got 15 skill points to buy amongst your skills on a one-for-one basis. And they also have specializations, which is taking a skill and picking something very specific to it, and it costs you a half a point to add 1 to that specialization. But obviously you've got to have points in this skill in the first place. Then you choose your talents and resources. You choose one, and these are like edges in Savage Worlds. They give you special abilities that break the rules or give you more dice to roll. And then you pick a flaw, and flaws are like hindrances in Savage Worlds. Yeah, you can see why I think it's like Savage Worlds. And you pick one, and it's another way to it's a way to earn style points. And then once you've added all those up, you take experience, which is like giving you an additional level to start with. And it's the same experience for each time you level up. And basically that works is that you have 15 points to spend on experience, and it costs you a number of points from your pool to acquire the new level. So if you want to get a new attribute, it's 5 times the new skill level, the new attribute level. So if you are on level 3 for your attribute, and you wanted to move to level 4, it would cost you 20 points because that's 4 multiplied by 5. Skills is a similar system, your new level multiplied by 2. For each new skill specialization you want is 3 points. 15 points for new talent, or 15 points for a new resource. On to the rules themselves. There are 4 types of actions you can take, which is a standard action when you have to beat a target number. Target numbers are set by the games master, the referee, and the target numbers range from 1 to 6 plus, with 2 being the average. So you set a target number, the player rolls a pool of dice equal to their attribute and skill, and tries to beat the target number. You have an extended action, which is very similar to the standard action, where you've got to beat a target number, but you've got to accumulate a number of successes, not just one success. So the target number may be 5, and you've got to get 8 successes in total, so you may have to complete it over several turns. You have opposed actions where you're trying to compete against an NPC or fellow player, and you both roll your pools of dice, and whoever gets the most successes wins. And you have reflexive actions, which is an action doesn't cost you anything to do, but it's when you're attacked or when somebody opposes you, you get to roll your defense or your reflex for free. There are modifiers to the rolls which can be given for various things, for advantages and disadvantages, and they are usually +1, 2, +4 or +8 dice. One way that Ubiquity does differ from other games is that your equipment, the gear you're using, is figured into your dice pool. So there's one roll which catches your hit and to your damage. And every weapon is classed as either lethal or non-lethal. And your health points are also looked into the same way. You have non-lethal damage and you have lethal damage. So weapons, to add to your dice pool between 1 and 4 dice. The character sheet is nicely designed in that it figures all of this in for you. So your skills are linked to your attributes, and your weapon is linked to the skill you're using. So on your character sheet, you'll work out the total number of dice that you're rolling every time you use a certain weapon. So you haven't got to work it out. You roll your dice pool in total. Count your total number of successes. Your opponent will roll their defense for their basic defense, any armor they're wearing, and any situation modifiers, and their successes. And if the attacker rolls more than the defender, each success over is 1 damage, be it lethal or non-lethal. So combat does really move really quick, and it adds to that pulpy feel. And this is one criticism that I see from some people about. They don't like that it's one roll and that weapons are taken into account. But for me, it really fits in with the pulpy system, and it gives a good fast combat. There are a number of combat maneuvers that you can also do, things like aiming, blocking, cold shots, disarming character, and these are like special moves that you can do. I would recommend that with new players that you give them a sheet with these printed out. There is a good bestiary of creatures. Obviously in Hollow Earth they're predominantly dinosaurs and NPCs. The good thing about the system is that if you've got the other books from Regime Diabolique or Space 1899, that they're all cross-compatible. So you can use your monsters and NPCs in a system and convert them to the other system. Now in Hollow Earth Expedition, the core book, there is no magical psionics, but in the supplements there are. And you can also use the magic from the other systems and psionics from the other setting books and put them across. So, and you have different types of magic and rituals in the other books. The reason I reckon Ubiquity isn't as popular, as well known as some of the other games out there, I think, is because there is no core set. a basic generic set. I think if they produced a basic generic set and put those out there, that the game might have caught on. As it is, once you've played the game, it is really easy to adapt it to any system. I've run Flash Gordon using Ubiquity, using the Hollow Earth Expedition rules, and then taking bits from the Surface World supplement and from the Revelations of Mars supplement. And once you've played the system, it's so easy to run and so easy to adapt things to any genre. And the Pulp system gives a very cinematic game, and it's like playing a TV series or a movie. It's fast flowing, and it doesn't take long for the players to work out the dice system and how to work out the dice. And they soon learn very quickly that once the GM sets the target number, they look at the dice pool and they know what sort of chance they've got. You know that most of the time you're probably going to roll about half the number of dice from your pool are going to be successes. So you've got a good idea quickly how to work out if you've got a good chance of doing it or not. So that's my review of the Ubiquity system. For me, it's a nice, simple system. Get yourself a cheat sheet of the combat maneuvers for your players when you're playing, so at least then they've got some idea. But yeah, it's a big thumbs up for me. For me, I'd rather play it than Savage Worlds. Savage Worlds for me is a bit too crunchy, and there's too many mechanics working against each other. At least with Ubiquity, it's a one dice roll system, nice simple system. You could also get some Ubiquity dice, although they are difficult to find. Instead of rolling a big pool of dice, they've got some special dice where white dice counts as 1 dice, red dice counts as 2 dice, and blue dice counts as 3 dice, and the stats are already worked out on the dice. Or what I've done is I've bought some of the binary dice, which you can get off places like Amazon, which are 6-sided dice with 3 0 sides and 3 1 sides. Roll them, and it's a lot easier to count their successes. I did find that rolling d6 and counting evens as successes and odds as failures was not so easy. So if you're using d6 or d8s, count the top half of the range as successes. So on d6, 4, 5, 6 is a success, 1, 2, 3 is a failure, and I think that works a bit easier than counting odds and evens. So Dave, that's my review for you. Hope you found it useful. Check it out.